Good Friday afternoon, good Friday evening, everybody. To the team, Longport, Margate, Ventnor, Atlantic Coastal Tourism District Opportunity Zone Think Tank. Good evening. This is Jimmy Whitehead with our Friday Atlantic City Jimmy Whitehead Power Hour to talk about different things going on in Atlantic City, in Washington, D.C., throughout America, in the world, economics, art, cybersecurity, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, Atlantic City, Container Park, etc., etc. I'm just coming to join you guys today to share some information with you, some developing information, and also to give everybody a little bit of friendly advice. And that is, it's not going to hurt you to buy some extra water to keep in the house, whether they are gallon jugs or whether they are bottles of water. The little bottles, I guess they 8 ounces, 16 ounces. It's time to consider, well, it's been time to consider stocking up on water. And anybody who knows me in New Jersey and in DC now knows that over the last 10 years, my biggest concern has been protecting America from cyber security attacks, cyber tourism, terrorism, cyber ransoms, cyber attacks on America's electric grid, cyber attacks on America's critical infrastructure, municipality, particularly urban communities. And you just never know from day to day, what the next emergency could be. But I will share this with you. Over the last several days, in several states, there have been some cyber attacks on municipality water systems, critical infrastructure. And everything in life depends on our water systems, from taking a shower to cleaning the dishes to warming up the baby's bottles in the hot water to the hospitals needing it for sanitation purposes, for drinking water, for using the restroom. Water, while we may take it for granted sometimes, is one of the most critical infrastructure needs that we have as human beings. And I'm going to share a couple of stories with you that just came out August 6th, August 7th, about some public safety concerns. Experts say Georgia water system attack highlights critical security deficiencies. Cyber experts warn that internet connected controllers and water systems are highly vulnerable to remote access. A story by Ross Williams and Georgia Recorder. Clayton County authorities say boil water advisory and low water pressure may have been part of a multi-state cyber campaign targeting water infrastructure that could be linked to Iran. Rex Democratic State Representative Sandra Scott said she heard from constituents upset about the incident. It is critical that they truly get to the bottom of it because we know that we all need water, she said. The incident comes amid cyber attacks on municipal water systems in at least 7 other states, according to the FBI, including Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin. But Jenna Celito, a public affairs specialist with the Atlanta FBI office, would not confirm any specific incident or details. Quote, the FBI is aware of recent public reporting around water and wastewater WWS sectors, Celito said in a statement. The FBI and our interagency partners are fully engaged to protect critical infrastructure, and we remain well equipped to protect against cyber threats of all varieties. The apparent attack. On July 27th, the Clayton County Water Authority issued a precautionary boil water advisory after it said a pump station failed at around 1 a.m., causing some customers to experience low water pressure or no water whatsoever. Trying to figure out which way to lean. Crews restored pressure by around 4 a.m., and the boil advisory was lifted on July 28th after testing showed the water was safe to consume, the authority said. Just think about that. Between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., thank God they were able to confirm that the water was safe to consume. But think about how many thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in Clayton County, who may have drank water between 1 and 4 a.m. in the morning. Let's just say 100 people drink water between 1 a.m. and 4. And let's say that this water, because of a cyber attack, was contaminated or some other type of ill-fated collusion was going on with the water system, and 100 people got sick from it. Or let's say whatever it was, 100 people died from it. Now multiply that by 10. The cyber war, as I stated on Capitol Hill previously, is no longer across the ocean in another country. The battle against cybersecurity hacks and cybersecurity attacks is local, it's domestic, it's in our border. On Monday, the Water Authority announced the issue may have been the result authorized cyber activity and unauthorized cyber activity that may have caused or contributed to disruption as utilities nationwide are facing a growing number of cyber threats targeting critical infrastructure. The cybersecurity attack was first reported by WSB TV. Now here's the thing, check this out. Unauthorized cyber contributed to distribution as utilities nationwide are facing growing number of cyber threats. Now, the way the enemy will do this, I've talked about this some years ago, they will test vulnerability in our systems. And let's say they get into a system down in South Carolina, some water system in South Carolina. And from South Carolina, they implant some technology that makes its way up to Washington, D.C. through the system that they attacked in South Carolina. And through that attack, they're able to get all the way up to the Pentagon. And I'll show you how simple it is. Okay, a few years ago, there was a big casino in Las Vegas. And in this casino, they had a gigantic aquarium in their lobby. But they had big fish like barracudas and sharks or whatever, those huge aquariums. And a cyber attack occurred because the terrorist or the cyber villain hacked into the filter system of the fish tank in the lobby. And once it got into the fish tank's system, it was able to get into the casino's coffers for ransom, cyber ransom. So if the bad guys right now are just testing our nation's critical infrastructure vulnerabilities, and they find a hole in some of our rural communities, because you figure in the cities, a lot of the cities have newer computer systems, newer integrated firewalls and technologies to protect certain things. But then you have thousands of little rural towns, little rural communities that are still functioning with some very outdated technology. I mean, thousands of them. So just imagine the bad guys are testing some of these critical infrastructures so they can figure out where our weaknesses are. And they get in there and they start destroying a lot of stuff. As I say, get your water. In a statement, authority spokesperson Aaron Thomas said there's no evidence that customers' billing or payment information was compromised. That's another thing. They get into critical infrastructure companies, they get access to your banking information, including the FBI and the Federal Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, to investigate the incident and secure the affected systems. So see, they can't tell you everything that's going on, but they're still trying to figure out what happened and what holes that they need to close up. So there is a cyber war going on right now. And this first level of a cyber war is there are attacks happening on critical infrastructure departments around the country. They're not going to write about it because they're trying to figure it out. They don't want to put too much out there to the enemy to let the enemy know that they are in certain places. So we have to buy some water, y'all. According to the FBI public service announcement, water and wastewater utility companies in at least 7 states have reported incidents to federal authorities. The FBI says malicious cyber attackers are targeting specific models of programmable logic controllers, rugged industrial computers that can collect data from and issue commands to other equipment. According to the agency, the malicious actors are remotely accessing the internet connected controllers and remotely tampering with them, including by changing IP addresses and passwords. And in the last um, several days, I have had problems with my emails and my social media accounts where I got notification that somebody had hacked into them and I had to go in and change the passwords. So I'm not saying that I had anything to do with those incidents, but it is ironic that in the same week some of this stuff is going on, I'm having some problems. So who knows if these guys may be hacking Facebook and hacking TikTok and hacking social media accounts to get access to information. According to the agency, the malicious actors are remotely, according to the FBI. Georgia Tech cybersecurity professor Saman Zonaz compares programmatical logic controllers to your thermostat, which detect the temperature in your home and determines whether to turn on the air conditioner. But the programmable logic controllers can detect multiple factors like water pressure, chlorine levels, and more, and make the appropriate adjustments. The same devices are used across industries, and in other essential infrastructure like power grid and oil and gas refineries. But Zunos said they are often critically vulnerable to infiltration. Zunos, Zunos, maybe Zonos, and his fellow researchers found more than 7,000 programmable logic controllers open and accessible on the internet in water temperament plants, airports, hospitals, the energy sector, and even military facilities, mostly for convenience sake. Again, Zunos, who is, let's see, Zunos is, I think he's with the FBI. No, he's with Georgia Tech. He's a Georgia Tech cybersecurity professor. Saman Zunos and his fellow researchers found more than 7,000 programmable logic controllers open and accessible on the internet to water treatment plants, airports, hospitals, the energy sector, and even military facilities, mostly for convenience sake. The reason that attacks of last week happened is because these devices in the US and all over the place internationally usually are exposed to the internet either misconfigured or for the operator's convenience purposes so that they can remotely maintain and operate the processes when they are not in person in the plant, he said. So see, a lot of this stuff operates in the air, this thing they call the cloud and the internet of things. A lot of these systems operations and access to their internal software, algorithms, etc., is floating out there in the air. This data is floating in the air. So if somebody is able to capture access to these remote systems, they can do that from anywhere. Part of that vulnerability comes down to the type of basic cybersecurity principles applicable to homes and small businesses. Zonos said the team was able to get into many of the devices because they had the original manufacturer's usernames and passwords they shipped with. A lot of stuff you order from Staples and Amazon comes with usernames and passwords, and they're able to get this information. Or people in large facilities with multiple devices gave them all the same passwords, making malicious hackers' jobs easy. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this, he said. Water systems tend to be more vulnerable than power grid or oil and gas because that sector doesn't have the same mandatory cybersecurity requirements. Zonos added, and systems typically run for decades without security updates. See, that's the piece I was talking about. How many of these systems in thousands of cities across America typically run for decades without any security updates? Thousands of them. I mean, it's one of those kind of situations that we don't do anything about it until something happens. You know how we use that term, we are more reactive than proactive. And the thing that we have been emphasizing over the years is that we have got to be proactive, particularly here in the Atlantic Coastal Tourism District Opportunity Zone cities, sister cities, because this is a tourism area. This is where people use a lot of their credit cards when they come to town, and they stay in hotels, they stay in Airbnbs, they're doing a lot of transactions over the internet. And we're vulnerable. I mean, we're a big city with a little population and a lot of activity, but we are vulnerable. And I remember back when I was working for the government, one of the places that they said they were very concerned about being attacked from terrorists, after 9/11, was places like Las Vegas and Atlantic City, they have large populations of tourists. Because usually, if you're on your vacation, you let your guard down a little more. Water systems tend to be more vulnerable than the power grid or oil and gas because that sector doesn't have the same mandatory cybersecurity requirements, which they should. Zone has added, and systems typically run for decades without security updates. Iran connection. It's not yet clear who is behind the incidents or whether they came all from the same group, but the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency warned in an April advisory of ongoing Iranian affiliated cyber targeting of internet connected operational technology, OT, devices, including programmable logic controllers, PLCs. The U.S. and Iran are locked in an ongoing conflict that has embroiled much of the region, and Iranian leaders have vowed to retaliate to U.S. strikes. Groups affiliated with Iran have previously targeted U.S. water infrastructure, including a 2023 attack on a station in Pennsylvania right next door. In the long term, Zonos said the government should establish mandatory cybersecurity regulations for water systems with financial penalties for noncompliance. But he said he hopes these incidents cause operators to take simple security steps. The first thing to be done, really, is just to take them off the internet, he said. That's the simplest fix to this problem to start with, to sacrifice convenience of operators for security and public safety. And that was from Georgia a couple of days ago. This right here is from the good old state of New Jersey, just yesterday, in the 5th. 2 New Jersey municipal water systems targeted in cyber attacks. Iran remains the prime suspect in the cyber attacks, according to sources. 2 municipality water systems in New Jersey were targeted in cyber attacks in the last week, widely thought to be the work of Iran, the state said Wednesday. The affected utilities, which were not named, were temporarily blinded when automated systems went down. Both utilities shifted to manual operations, and the state said there was no disruption to service, and both systems have been secured with strengthened access controls. Quote, our New Jersey Cybersecurity and Communication Integration Cell, NJCCIC, responded to 2 cyber incidents affecting New Jersey municipal water systems this past week. The NJCCIC is working directly with the affected utilities alongside our federal partners at the FBI and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the state said Wednesday. At least 12 states face cyber attacks on their water systems, sources said. The investigation found that the incidents involved vulnerable internet-exposed control systems, which temporarily limited operators' ability to monitor or manage them remotely. In both cases, staff shifted quickly to manual operations, and there was no disruption to service. Customers had uninterrupted access to safe drinking water throughout, the state said. Safe drinking water. Sources told ABC News that Iran remains the prime suspect, perhaps showing how it could retaliate as President Donald Trump threatens to escalate the war. Officials are also assessing whether this could be the work of a different state actor mimicking Iran's tactics in a possible attempt to influence what the U.S. does next. In Georgia, which we just talked about, the Clayton County Water Authority briefly issued a boil water advisory when it was targeted by hackers. Columbus Water Works said it also detected an intrusion, but drinking water was unaffected. The recent hacks affecting water and wastewater utilities in at least a dozen states exploited a vulnerability in widely used utility software, sources told ABC News. A fix has been issued, but utilities across the country that run the same software are racing to see if they were also hacked. But what about the little small rural communities and what's going on with the tribal nations properties and some of these areas in Mississippi and in Alabama that where people still function um, with very primitive um, housing utilities. I mean, there's still people in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana that's still using outhouses. Okay, we still have some very obsolete systems in some of these rural communities that is, to me, what is the real national emergency. So far, it appears nobody has become sick, and there have been no widespread disruptions of water supplies. However, officials still are still working to understand the scope of the hack and what could have happened to systems Americans depend on every day. So, see, it's not over yet. This is just the beginning of it. So, I really advise everyone to do something I always do: keep you some extra bottles of water. Get you enough water so that if something happens, you at least got enough water to ration for a week because it could get crazy. And it's better to side on the side of precaution than wait for something to happen and try to react. Because if something goes crazy and you get to the stores, there's not going to be any water at the stores. And just imagine all the water being affected, cut off. You can't go to the restroom. You can't use the toilet. You can't fill the bathtub up with water now, which is an emergency preparation um, method because the water's been cut off. You can't. You can use the restroom at your house, but you can't flush the toilet because the water system could have a problem. So please take these messages from these terrorists seriously. Take it serious because they hate us. You know, those folks in Iran and some folks in other countries hate America because we're such a great nation. But a little bit of hate can cause a catastrophic problem for America if the bad guys get into our public utility systems. So I want to just share that message with all of you, which you might have heard on the news and you might already taken precaution, but do side on the side of precaution. Get some extra water to keep at the house. Even if the water is turned off for 2 or 3 days, you want to get some fresh water. Man or woman or children cannot live without water for very long. So that's enough of that. Now I would like to be able to share something with everyone about the Economic Development Seminar Series presents the Makers and Marketing free marketing workshop conducted by Joe Melano. Learn about AC Makers Made in AC Initiative. Meet and network with AC Makers. Move your business forward. The Seed, a living beer project. This meeting will be at 807 Baltic Avenue, Unit 4, Atlantic City. Let me see exactly where it's going to be. 5 p.m. Thursday, August 20th. Starts at 5 p.m. with networking. Seminar starts promptly at 5:30. Receive and leave with usable marketing tools Excuse me. If you have, if you require reasonable accommodations to participate in the city program activities and services, contact ACHR at acnj.gov or call 609-347-5374. So if you're an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur and you want to get into business, come out on to the Makers in Marketing Economic Development Seminar Series presents um, 5 p.m. Thursday, August 20th. I'll be there. Come on out, meet me. Let me meet you. Let's talk about business. Let's talk about economic development. Let's talk about legacy wealth. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. Let's talk about the magnificent avant-garde Atlantic City Container Park that my dear friend and partner Mark Colazzo is leading. It's an incredible idea he had. He partnered with a young lady entrepreneur in Atlantic City named Paige. So it's part woman-owned business, and together they're putting, I think it's 17 or 27 containers right there at Pacific and Tennessee Avenue, where the Orange Loop is. I feel very blessed that we're going to be participating in the Opportunity Zone project through our Exhale Cosmetics Bath and Body business. And we're going to have a boutique there, a beauty boutique, that I hope everyone will come over and check us out. Get some lip gloss, get some lipstick, get some bath and body wash products, get something for that special woman you love, or that special woman can come over to the boutique and exhale on her own with some of her girlfriends. There are going to be some special events held at the Container Park. It's a very creative concept. They're going to have some music there. They're going to have festivals there. I can't wait to see how beautiful and delightful it's going to be during the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays and New Year holidays. It's just going to be fabulous. So you get a chance, go to Google Atlantic City Container Park, get some information about it. When Mark Colazzo first started this, he opened it up to everybody who wanted to be in business, regardless of where you live, where you came from, your background, your religion, your color, whatever. He just said, anybody that wants the opportunity to create a small business in this container park, first come, first serve, sign on up. And myself and a number of other wonderful entrepreneurs have signed up. So it's going to be lovely. And it's going to be in an area, the Orange Loop, where there are restaurants, there's a cigar bar, there's a beer bar there, a beer hall. They have fabulous condominiums going up there. It's not far from where Brian Zubek is building some townhomes. So it's going to be a real a heartbeat of a place. And it's going to be beautiful and clean and elegant, affordable, family focused. So stand by and get ready to come in October to Atlantic City's Extraordinary Container Park and exhale, because we say exhale in the great city of Atlantic City always. So I wanted to come on and just share a little bit of that knowledge with you about what's going on with these cyber attacks in America and now in New Jersey, the great state of New Jersey. Everybody take a little bit of precaution and get you a 24 pack of water. At least if you have something, it's better than nothing. Or get you, several gallons of water and keep them at the house. Because you never know from day to day. This is a strange world we're in now, where there's a lot of hate against America. And that's too bad for them, because I love America, and so do we. Atlantic City, we love America. We love the fact that our American families can have a good life, but be precautious. Take precaution. Read the tea leaves. If something is going on with this cyber attacking our public utilities, it's better to be safe than sorry. And hopefully nothing comes out of it. Hopefully all of America's security checks and balances works, and they get the kind of software they need and firewalls they need to further protect everyone. protecting everyone is a big challenge, especially in some of these rural communities. And the rural communities will impact the urban communities. We all going to feel it if it happens, or it's already happened when it happens some more. So stay tuned, stay vigilant, be smart, get some water and keep it home, and have a wonderful, blessed, beautiful weekend in the great city of Atlantic City. Mark your calendars for October 2026 to come to the most extraordinary Atlantic City container park that's going to start doing some wonderful things. Food, we have food underneath, we have some gifts and crafts, and we have exhale. Check it out. Exhale, FXL. FXL stands for Exhale First Lady. Everybody, somebody first lady. There's a Jimmy Whitehead coming to you from Atlantic City. Jimmy Whitehead Power Hour. Wishing everybody a blessed week. God bless you.